All right, good morning, everybody. Uneducated Economist here. So, in this video, we are going to be talking about my top 3 favorite conspiracy theories out there. Did a video just recently telling people to get off the conspiracy theories and start getting themselves on a path of chasing excellence. And I got a lot of pushback from people saying, no, you have to follow these conspiracy theories in order to protect yourself, in order to prevent the outcomes of despair that you are watching all these conspiracy theory minded people warning you and telling you about the failures that are going to come, and you are spending most of your time pursuing these things and how it is that these things are going to protect you. And this was the pushback I'm getting from it. Now, people said that I am like ignorant to the conspiracy theories. And I thought, holy moly, these people have no idea who I am. Do you have any idea how I was able to dive this deep into research to come up with some of the things I was able to do? I even had people telling me, man, you must be working for an opposition group out there who is deliberately pushing the people away by delivering misinformation. This is the people that I have people literally telling me this. And so I thought to myself, you know what? I'm going to come out and I'm going to talk about my favorite conspiracy theories, the ones that nobody really has taken into good consideration. And so here are the top 3, right? Starting with number 1, I'm going to go right to the top, right? Right to the top of my favorite conspiracy theories. And I'm going to talk about having your name being spelled in all capital letters. This is probably the number 1 conspiracy theory that most people have no clue about. Absolutely oblivious minded. In fact, if they heard this, they're like, what does that have to do with anything? It's no big deal. Look at every single checking account, tax form, anything that has to do with your employment. Everything is always spelled in capital letters. This is the difference between being a sovereign individual and a corporate entity. And if you don't think that's true, here's a test of this theory. Go and grab yourself a check that you would write out a payment to another person with, right? Just a handwritten check. Everybody knows what I'm talking about. Very few people use these things. Go and find one of these checks. Go and look at the line that you sign your name to. It's a very interesting line. It's different from all the other lines that are on that check. You got a line where you pay it and make the payment of order, all the stuff, people's, like the amount, everything. But that line that you sign your name to, it's a different line. It looks different from all the rest of them. And if you look really close, it's not even actually a line. It's a series of little dots. And if you even look closer, even yet, it's not even dots. It's words. What you're signing your name to is words, not a line. Why would they put it so small? Why did they make it so insignificant? Microprint. In fact, you'll look over off to the side, there's a little MP right there. That stands for microprint. That means there's words written there in that line. Why would they do it so small? Why do they have to make it like that? All right. So because what you are doing is you are signing for a corporate identity. You're not signing for the human person. You are signing for a corporate identity. That's the capital letters. Everything. Your birth certificate to a driver's license to tax forms to everything has these capital letters, signifying you are identifying yourself as this corporate identity. This is how they are able to restrict you in ways of travel in a vehicle. You have a right to travel. There's no way that they have a right to impede you from traveling in any way that you desire is most fit for you. However, if you drive in a car, they're going to pull you over if you don't have your license and registration and insurance. You know why? It's because everything you have agreed to is part of the state, getting the license, getting the registration, getting the insurance. You know why you have to do it? Is because that vehicle is actually part of the state. See, something happens when a vehicle is created. It's something of a manufactured statement of origin is created. This is like essentially like a birth certificate of the vehicle. Now, if you had this manufactured statement of origins, which essentially do not exist, but if you did, then you would be able to have the vehicle in your name as if it was your skin. It's not part of the registration process of the state. But all vehicles with the manufacturer statement of origin immediately goes to the state where the registration is then created in a certificate of title. not the title, a certificate of it, right? Because a certificate is representing something of another nature. This is a certificate of title that represents the vehicle that now needs to be registered because they own part of it with that original manufacturer statement of origin. So if you had that manufactured statement of origin and you get pulled over by the cops and the cops say, hey, you don't have a license, you don't have registration, you don't have insurance, you don't have any of this stuff, and they're going to tow your vehicle or take it from you, and you say, hey, this isn't due process because unless you're judge, juror, and executioner of this doesn't designate due process. And this vehicle is if it's my skin, and you can't take it from me. It's just you don't have any legal authority over that. I'm sorry, you just can't. Right? Because if it was registered to the state, then you would be able to. Most people don't understand that. They have no clue about what I'm talking about right now. They're going to push back against that whole idea. I totally get it. I have a license. I drive the vehicle with insurance. I register it. I have all the stuff. I pay. I do all the stuff. I have my corporate identity ready to present itself to the cops when I get pulled over because I understand exactly how that works. I know how it works. I know I'm participating in the system. When I sign my name to the bottom line, I am signing for a corporate identity. I'm not signing for me, Simon the human being, right? I mean, I'm Simon of the earth. I don't really have a name, right? My name is just, I don't have a name. My parents called me Simon, right? My name, this corporate name, that's not me. That's a corporate identity. Right? Was this your birth certificate? It was just like, I don't know. I don't remember being born. I don't know if it was on that day. That's a certificate that said I was, but I don't know anything about that. That's a corporate identity that you're presenting to me. That was the day of the creation of the corporate identity. I guess so. That's the one you call birth certificate. I wasn't there to admit to that. I might have been there, but that's what you're saying it is, not me. And so understanding that there is a corporate identity that you follow. Well, that leads into a whole new world of understanding what it is you're doing with that corporate identity. And this leads into my second favorite conspiracy theory. This is my second favorite one. Like if the capital letters one doesn't trip you out enough, this is really going to get the libertarians moving right here, because this is where I get a lot of pushback from a lot of people out there. And don't get me wrong, your decision-making process is up to you, and I don't like knock you for doing whatever it is that you decide to do. But the next one is concealed weapons. Concealed carry permit. Biggest conspiracy theory I could ever possibly have come up with after understanding the whole sovereign citizen thing with the capital letters. And that is, if you go and get yourself a concealed weapons permit, you are essentially relinquishing your rights. All these people who think that carrying a concealed weapon is actually exercising their rights, being encouraged to go and exercise their rights by getting a concealed weapons permits, are literally handing them over, saying, here, I don't need these anymore. Thank you for offering up the rights. And I'm apparently not deserving of them. So here, you can have them. Give me the concealed weapons permit. Because think about that right there for a second. You are asking for a permission slip. You are asking for permission. Permission because you don't feel that you have the right to do it. So by asking for permission, are you actually telling them, I do not have a right to do this, so please give me the permission. Please give me that permit. You don't want to believe that? Okay, I know I got a little excited. My back. Get pulled over by the cops. What do you have to do? You have a concealed weapons permit. What do you have to do when you get pulled over by the cops? You now have to talk to the police officers. You no longer have the right to silence. You have relinquished that right for the concealed weapons permit. When you get pulled over, you have to speak to the police officer. Right? If that is not an admission that you have no right because you can no longer stay silent, then I don't know what is. You have given that right up, exercising your right by asking for permission, which actually says you do not have a right, because you wouldn't ask for permission for something you already have a right to do. Think about that. Biggest conspiracy theory, concealed weapons permits. All right. How many minutes into this? 10. Cool. We're going fast. I don't know if we really want to go how long into this. I mean, we got 125 people watching. Thank you so much for everybody being here. 29 likes. Thank you so much for hitting that like button. We're going to move into my third favorite conspiracy theory, and this one is going to be really obvious. The third biggest conspiracy theory is the money itself. All right. All the money that we use. The money itself is the biggest conspiracy theory that I could ever possibly think of, because really, you think about this for just a second. I didn't bring out the samples with me, but at a time, right, there was many different forms of currency that was taking place. But most people look at it as if it was a singular thing, like as if we had $1 and the dollar did this, did that, is this, is that. And they keep talking about the dollar as if it's a singular thing, but not realizing that the dollar has been many, many different things. Now, when we think about the dollar in its original form as being silver, a silver dollar makes sense, right? Got a coin, certain size, certain weight, certain purity. This is a dollar. Totally makes sense. But then things moved in to notes that started representing dollars. Now, these notes were not only generated by central banks, by banks themselves, bank notes, but the governments made all these notes. These are all forms of currency. And people looked at those things and said, these are dollars. But they're not dollars. They're representations of dollars. Much like the capital letters is your name is a representation of you. It's a representation of a corporate citizen out there. It's not the reality. The reality is that silver dollar. Everything else is a concept of it, but not the reality of it. So when I think about the money itself and people say, well, the dollar doesn't hold the value like it used to, it's like because you're thinking the dollar is the same thing. It's not. It's not even close to being the same thing. And I mean, to even suggest that it is the same thing is being very naive to what the dollar is to begin with. To say it should hold value. Well, yeah, it should. I mean, that's just pretty obvious. It should hold value. It doesn't. It's a currency. That means it's not going to hold value. It means it's meant to deploy goods and services to other goods and services. And if you're expecting it to do anything other than that, then it's not currency anymore. So to look at the money as anything other than a currency, then it's a very naive approach to saying, hey, it should hold value. You're right. It should. If it was silver, it probably would hold some value. But it's not silver anymore, and even the silver game is manipulated through the dollar mechanisms. So understanding that this is probably the biggest conspiracy theory of it all is the money, to know that I own my own economy and says, okay, I can use this currency system in order to deploy my efforts into the capabilities of having a return on that money. By understanding being a capitalist investor, then I can understand that the money will probably never hold its value, but it can always transfer goods and services to other goods and services. It can designate certain power to others' power in order to have a return on those investments. And by living in this environment as opposed to the one that it should be, you can actually progress through this economy in a much more profitable way. The money itself is probably the biggest conspiracy theory in the sense that people say, here, man, you need to work for the money and it needs to be saved and it needs to be earned and held on to. And I think to myself, no, not really. Like, I mean, if we lived in a silver, backed generated or silver gold generating dollar kind of mechanism, then I would be like, okay, well, how does that work? And show me how that's, going to not affect our economy in a way that is going to be causing all our standard of living to be depleted to the absolute minimum while we shove all that money to the exporting of foreign production. I mean, I just think to myself all the problems that come from the economic forces of things like Gresham's law and Triffin's dilemma and the Cantillon effect. When you go on to one of these standards, to me, it's not a broken mechanism. It's just one that you have to understand what it is. It's not correct. You're right. Correct for what? For what it is you need it to do. I mean, what is it you need it to do? Because if you need it to hold value, it's not going to happen. I mean, I gave up on that. I mean, that ship sailed a long time ago, me thinking that it should hold value. I just gave up on that a while ago. I'm not going to try. I don't expect it to. It's not how the system works. It's not going to. It's just like, the thought energy spent into thinking about how it is that you can change the way the money system is operating is going to be very, very, very long, difficult road with a very depressing outcome from it. It's much easier to understand how this system is working in a way that is separating the rich and the poor, so you can see how it is that you are putting yourself in a position that is causing you to be on the bottom side of the wedge. I mean, I think about it all the time. I would love to drive a new car, right? I think about it, it's just like the Explorer's an old car. It's not running right. I got to take it to the shop, have something checked out on it. It's not that bad, right? But, it's just like, you're kind of concerned about it. It's just like, well, it's an older vehicle. Wish I had something new. Or you start talking yourself into it. You look out the vehicles out there. It's just like, well, I don't want to buy some kind of like, cheaper used car. I want to buy a newer car. Next thing you know, you're looking at $50,000 cars and you're thinking, wow, that's a lot of money to be spending on a vehicle. Okay, $100 to $1,000 a month, between all the gas and insurance and, maintenance of this vehicle to get it out there and, have a new and driving around and having it nice and up to the levels of, appreciation that you want for buying actually a new car. And all that money could have been like put into investments. And so I think right there, that mindset, right? Those who justify the purchase of the vehicle, like I even do it to myself. I just like, even just in the short conversation I just did for the last 20 seconds, you can see how easy it is to talk yourself into a nicer vehicle and not realize that, man, I should not be thinking about the nicer vehicle. I should be thinking about where it is that I can put this money so that I can make it best for my outcome in the future. That's really the only direction it should be looked at. But we're in a consumer-based economy that people love new stuff. I like new stuff. I mean, I really like new stuff, right? I mean, it's cool. Yeah, it's way cool. I don't know, like, to me, new stuff, it's fun to have for what, a minute or two? I mean, it's really great. I guess some people really enjoy having new stuff, maybe. I mean, materialistic possessions or something like that. I mean, don't get me wrong, toys are fun and, having side-by-sides or motorcycles or, having a big collection of firearms or something like that. I mean, everybody has their hobbies or something of that nature. And to me, I think, man, my hobby, like I had hobbies. And I thought to myself, man, why don't I just make a hobby out of studying money? Like make money my hobby. Collecting coins, collecting old currency, learning about monetary policy, make that my hobby. And so I made that my hobby, and then holy moly, what a benefit it did for my life, right? So, I mean, some people are into fishing, some people are into, putting models together. I'm into studying economics and making videos. All right, roll the dice. Okay, you got it. And this is really what it comes down to. Once you understand the whole capital letters thing and the concealed carry idea and how the money is really the biggest conspiracy theory is how we look at the money and think about the money. Once you put all these together, all the rest of the conspiracy theories are really kind of like, they're kind of whatever. They wouldn't exist if it wasn't for the underlying understandings of these three that I talked about, the capital letters, the concealed carry, not the concealed carry itself, but the idea behind it. Like, why do you ask for permission for something you already have a right to do? And by asking for permission, you have relinquished the rights. And if you don't believe me, just don't address the cop when he approaches you and you have a concealed weapons permit. You're breaking the law, right? Because once you have the permit, you have to address the police officer when you get pulled over. And none of that would have happened if you didn't ask for the permit to begin with. You don't have to talk to anybody ever. Never in the history of time do you have to talk to a single person ever about anything, anytime. Silence is golden, no matter what. The only thing a police officer asks you anything, you say, I would like a lawyer person, please. You can say that at any given time. You do not have to address the cop whatsoever. You don't have to say where you're going. You don't have to answer anything, right? And since most people don't know, see, like, this is funny. I can't remember I don't have my computer out here to look it up. There's a Supreme Justice out there, and you could look it up. I think his name is Johnson. Don't get me wrong, because that's such a simple name, but I think it was from the 60s. So if you put Supreme Court Justice Johnson 60s, something of that nature, into the Google search, and then type in like a quotation or something that's like never under any circumstances should you ever say anything to the police. And I'm pretty sure that was from a Supreme Court justice from the 60s named Johnson. So that's a cool one to look up, like if you haven't looked that one up. All right, big old conspiracy theory. Here's another good one. You want to know another good conspiracy theory? The Pledge of Allegiance. This is such a good one. The Pledge of Allegiance, most people have no idea that that was actually developed by a flag salesman, a socialist flag salesman. There you go. Who came up with that little Pledge of Allegiance for everybody to say and look at, and he sold flags to all the schools. Look that one up. That was a good one. Good old conspiracy theories. I love them. All right? And these are like my favorite ones because like it's a lot of ones that most people just don't even realize, you know. It's like all these, like I look at the power pendulum that was created from the Pledge of Allegiance. That was a flag salesman who was trying to push this thing, right? It's just like, it's incredible to think about, and it's still going today, right? You think about it, the whole thing is like, it's social astounding anyway. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. You know, it was just like, you know, it should be like, I pledge of allegiance to me, to my state, to my local government, and stuff like that. Like most people back in the day didn't really trust the government, and it was never like anything that you just gave this committed idea to the government. It was more like, you know, we kind of hate you attitude. And that was good. That was like what the whole idea behind it was. It was just like you were supposed to, like, you know, look at like all the government as not saviors, but as like, you know, you little sons of bitches. Like that's the way we were supposed to look at them. And most people have given that up. They're like, oh no, you know, they're going to take your rights away. And I was like, they don't even have the ability to do that. I don't understand. Like people who say that have no idea what a right even is. They do not have the ability to take away your right. You tell them what your rights are. That's it, period. Right? You get pulled over and the cop says, I want to search your vehicle, and you say the rights of the people to be secure in the person's house's papers and effects from unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated. No warrant shall issue but upon probable cause supported by oath or affirmation, particularly describing the places to be searched and the persons and things to be seized. Show me the warrant. And in fact, better yet, show me a signed warrant. Because you can go get a warrant, but you got to be signed too, right? See, this is the difference in understanding the difference between rights. You are in charge of your rights, not anybody else. There is nobody else who can possibly be in charge of your rights that doesn't even possibly concept. That's not it. If you think that, you got it wrong. You are the only one. Zero. Anybody else out there is not in charge of your rights. You are. And if you cannot take control of that, if you cannot own that, if you relinquish that to, oh, the government will take them away, well, then, yeah, you really don't have them to begin with because you already said it. You just said it out loud. The government will take them away. They can't. They can't do that. Don't get me wrong. Humans can come and screw you up. They can come in. There's a human being on the other side of that weapon. They come to the door and you piss them off enough, they might shoot you. There is no saying what another human can do, but the legal authority and rights that you have and the authority that you have over the government is you have the supreme authority. If you understand and how to use that. Again, big conspiracy theory. Nobody gets it. Move on. Wisdom without power is like old men staring at goats. All right, do you really want to ride? She should be pledging your allegiance to your state flag as a state. All right, as a state citizen and not a U.S. citizen. I'm just saying, I mean, I don't know. I'm just saying, do you know where it came from? So had to remove the message. Uh-oh. All right, well, Brody, I trust you. All right, Donnie will save us from ourselves. I don't know about that. Power without wisdom destroys itself. Buy fiat dollar. We will see you in hell someday soon. It's happening in real time, and people are buying stupid red hats and cheering it on. Well, see, here's the thing. This is what I think about it, all right? It was just like, as people say, oh man, all these people, they're going to go down the wrong road. They're going to screw it all up. They got everything all messed up. I got it going right. I'm doing the right decisions I'm making. Well, think about it. If you're doing it right and all those people are doing it wrong, then you don't have any competition and you ought to be just swimming in it. Don't stress. It was just like, you just look out there and it was like, see all those people doing this? They all got it wrong. Every last one of them. They're going to screw it all up. That is my competition. I look at it like that and say, none of those people are going to get it. I'm getting it. They don't. Good job, boys. Keep screwing it up. How? I mean, I don't get it. I really don't. Here's another one. You know, I laughed so hard. There was this big guy I knew. His name was Bob, right? Bob was a big time, like, you probably know him from YouTube. I didn't know him personally, right? I just knew who he was. And I met Bob a couple of times, and Bob was a hella nice guy, very, very cool in person. Now, I know Bob would go to like these social unrest and video things to try and get a bunch of views. And he was up in the Portland area doing all this, and he'd come down to Astoria and he viewed stuff down here as well and videoed it. And I'm like, you know, hey, whatever, go Bob, right? And so I'm not one to do that. I'm not like gonna go and exploit, you know, like violence or anything else like that. But I understand how other people might like take it as some kind of like news broadcast. All right, he was doing it for views to make money and like, you know, was just totally into the violence things that was happening out there. Now, I'm not saying like he was wanting the violence things, but that's where he was making his money. So you think like, you know, you probably want a little bit of violence to take place so that he could video it and make it happen. And I was just like, you know, at one time I'm talking with this very liberal minded person and I'm like, and they were really mad. And I'm like, well, what are you talking about? He's totally on your side. You know, this liberal-minded person was mad at Bob because he's kind of a conservative-minded person. He's like, look at these liberals tearing the whole place apart. And then, of course, you get a bunch of views from that. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He's totally on your side. And and this girl couldn't, like, she was like, what are you talking about? No, he's not. And I'm like, think about it. Go ahead, go and fight for your social rights. Go do what girls do, you know. And he's going down there to video. He's like encouraging you guys. He's trying to add power to you. Like, he's encouraging you to go and screw things up, just like you're doing. Like, you want other people to screw things up, and he's encouraging you to go screw it up. I don't understand how it is that you could possibly disagree with this guy when he is on your side. Right? Oh, I mean, I understand that you don't like the fact that he's taking in and changing the meaning behind what it is that you're doing so that he can make a profit from it. Like, you don't like him because of what he is doing, and he doesn't really necessarily like what it is that you're doing. So, but you're both on the same side. Yeah, like, go screw it up. Go screw that building up. Spray that paint. Do all that other stuff. Let me video this stuff so I can post it all over the internet. I laugh at these people. You know, I really do. I mean, when I think about what it is that they could be thinking about, what it is that they should be thinking about, this is the result of it. Right? And I'm like, wow, you know, maybe it was Powell's fault. Maybe if we get rid of Powell, that'll do it. Powell will change the economy. Everybody will be singing Kumbaya if we get rid of Powell. I know, that'll do it. Right? I mean, I don't know. Are we done? We did a half hour of ranting. That was a lot of fun. All right. What does this have to do with anything? I don't know. Nothing. I'm just rambling on, just kind of making no sense at all. I already moved out of the country, bro. Life is too short. Yeah. All right. Is gold good? Well, it depends on what it is that you're anticipating to get from the gold. Like, I look at gold and silver as an insurance policy, and it totally works for me in that fashion. I don't expect it to do anything more than, you know, protect me from a third-party claim. And as I look at it like that, the better it does for me. So if I wanted to advance, if I wanted to do better, if I want something to like really increase in value, I'm not necessarily looking at gold. And if I did, it would probably be more like gold miners. Instead, I'm looking more into the cryptocurrencies only because it's just done so well. Like, I didn't even want it to be. I'd had all kinds of other little tiny investments that I had tried to deploy some money into to see which one would do the best. Cryptocurrency smoked them all. I didn't want it to. I didn't even try. I wasn't like, I put a little bit towards this and a little bit towards that and a little bit over here and a little bit over there and all that, and cryptocurrency just went, And just like everything else is like, well, I, you're like standing still compared to the cryptos. Like I didn't want it to be that way. I just knew that if I put it into a particular direction, that I would probably do fairly well considering that Bitcoin is a deflationary currency, meaning that they cannot possibly make any more of it. All the currency is out, and now comes down to whether or not people are going to be accepting it, and it just becomes more and more and widely accepted, and the network effect is growing and growing on it. So it only leads me to believe that Bitcoin is probably not a bad idea considering what it is that it's compared to, the dollar. And now gold and silver, I've already talked about that one as being an insurance policy. Now, other ideas like, buying into the stock market, well, that has done okay for me in certain directions, like buying the Altria stock with the dividends and stuff like that, which did okay. And, the total stock market ETF was, all right. It was pretty slow. I don't know if it really like necessarily is going to beat inflation, but it's done okay. It's Coinbase, right? The ticker coin, COIN, killed it. Absolutely dominated everything else that I had out there. Destroyed it all. I mean, I was buying that stock at $35 at one point. It's like $400 now. I mean, holy crap, for somebody who has no idea what they were doing dollar cost averaging into Coinbase, I absolutely just killed it in that one. So, I haven't sold any of the stock yet because I really believe that Coinbase is going to be very much a present figure inside of the crypto community when it comes to the future and how it is it's going to be involved with the banking system. So I'm sticking with Coinbase, and that's my own like idea. I don't try to spread that for anybody else to join in and do the same thing. So everybody has their own. Everybody, decides on what it is that they're going to do. Most people are scared. There's this funny thing. I read something the other day that I thought was really interesting, and it said, "Scared money chases bargains, smart money chases excellence." And I thought, wow, that's weird to think. Like, I mean, I never really thought about chasing excellence. They were talking about like luxury items, such as like really high-end cars that would hold value, or art that would hold value, or high-end. It was actually really talking about high-end real estate, very luxurious real estate, and how the demand for this is like growing and growing big, right? So it's this says like this smart money is looking to deploy into an area that is going to protect their wealth, and they're moving it into luxurious real estate, which is weird to think about, but that is a concentration of wealth, and that's an example of it. It's one of the symptoms. All right. Patriots. The Patriots. Yo, here, you want to hear another conspiracy? And this is, I don't know if there's any truth to this one. This one might be just complete BS, but I thought it was really interesting to think about because a lot of times names came from different meanings that got conjoined, right? And then so when it comes to these patriots, right? So like the term patriot and the idea of patriot, and this idea of where this patriot name came from. So back in the day, we think about patriots of like, like the forefathers and, the rise of all these, rebellions, the rebellious nature of the patriots rising against the English or something like that, right? So we have this idea of the patriots coming against to fight the English. Now, back in the day, like there was a handful of people who really wanted this movement to take place, like going against the British colonies and pushing them out, and starting the American colonies and getting those all up and running. So there was a lot of idea for it, but there wasn't a lot of like people who were like, hey dude, we don't really want to fight, yeah, right? It's just like, yeah, it would be cool, but they have like a lot of guns, a lot of military, and we're just really wanting to farm and stuff like that. And so there was like groups of them that were paid to rile them up and riot, paid to riot. Patriots, paid to riot, right? So I don't know if there's any truth to that, but I thought, man, what an interesting story, and I bet you there's a lot of truth to that. There were like, you know, I don't know, like basically like the mercenaries in a sense to rile up people and get things, to get people all like into a frenzy in a sense. And those were the patriots, like, the paid to riot, get out there and riot and get those people up and moving. I don't know. Anyway, pretty interesting story. Coinbase is a USA company, not China. All right. I subscribe to the theory that opposites are reality. Like when the government comes out and says they need regulation for an industry, it usually is to help out the biggest ones in the industry. Yeah, I can get with that. Metal Gear Rising. All right. I left a question for you a little ways up, Simon. All right, sorry, brother. Let me go check it out. Let me see if I can find it. Boy, you got so many of you up in here. 109. Okay, Brody, right there. Okay. Which the voting members. Okay, here we go. Hey, Simon, considering that the Fed has commented that uncertainty in the short run path of monetary policy results in a better long term outcomes, do you think the comments in the media appearance which the voting members make are honest? Do you think the comments in the media appearance which the voting members make are honest and in good faith, or do you think the activity plot they have contradictory positions in order to produce more confusion? Brody, I think it's the latter. I think it's the latter. I think they use the mainstream media as a tool to push the uncertainty out there at certain times in order to create an open-ended monetary policy that they can then communicate more clearly about to make the results more to make the results come more to the market conditions. Like, how am I going to try and say this? So if they make a bunch of people like very confused about what it is that's going to happen with monetary policy, then the uncertainty that is presented by that, if they make it really extreme, now when they come out with their words of clarity, it will then push the markets into a particular direction because the markets become very more certain about the outcome and then say, well, they're committed. And then the Federal Reserve ends up following behind that and they say, hey, the markets are pushing the Federal Reserve to behave in a particular way, right? But that's not really it because the Federal Reserve previous to that had created this confusion. Like, think about it. How many articles did we do talking about uncertainty? Like the Fed's favorite word being uncertainty, 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 right? And so as the Federal Reserve was creating this major amount of uncertainty, because every single Federal Reserve official was coming out and saying that to the mainstream media. So when you ask about whether or not they're coming out and being honest, every single one of them was honestly stating, hey, we need uncertainty in the market. So if you want to believe that the Federal Reserve was trying to create uncertainty, then yes, they were being quite honest with that, right? They wanted uncertainty and they got it. So the uncertainty created this open-ended idea of what it is that's going to happen. Now, as time goes on and that power is generated, the Federal Reserve can now become very clear in the communication. This clarity to the communication then puts the markets into a particular direction that then is more in line with what it is that the Federal Reserve is trying to have for their monetary policy. Does that make sense? All right. So no, they're not necessarily being honest. When they come out and many of them talk at the same time and they speak differently, that is their attempt to create the confusion. When many of them align to say, "Oh no, this is the way that we need to do it," that's them producing the clarity. But they haven't done anything, right? I mean, they still sit on the same interest rates that they have for months. They haven't changed any of that stuff. Right? We know how it is that they operate with the Fed funds rate and the idea of where the neutral interest rate is. So they're trying to manipulate the neutral interest rate, which is more done off of perception and people's expectation of future inflation. So that's the monetary policy. And by raising that neutral interest rate, they can make the economy either more or less restricted. It's in restriction. We know that because it's elevated monetary policy. Right? So it isn't a restrictive policy, but how restricted is it really when you think about the neutral interest rate, which absolutely nobody does, except for here on the Uneducated Economist. It was funny because I had somebody in the comment sections, basically saying that I don't do research, and the name Uneducated Economist essentially is saying that. And I thought to myself, you already defeated yourself within this conversation, considering what it is you just said about the name. Right? Like, to just think about that alone, I was just like, well, if he calls himself uneducated, then obviously I must be the smartest person in the room, right? And and I laugh at that, considering what it is that I've done. People ask me all the time. I was just like, what gives you any kind of credibility? And I'm thinking, nothing. I keep saying that. That's the name, Uneducated Economist. I have nothing to give me any kind of credibility. It's just the research that I've done and shared with you and been invited to speak on stage at 3 different conferences. So I think that there's people out there who kind of appreciate it. So I appreciate you guys for being here. Where's that super chat? Thank you, bro. Did I get your question answered? All right, $5 from BD. It seems that majority believe inflation money printing is the only path. What would you hypothesize could be deflationary scenario? Everything is a deflationary scenario. You know what the worst deflationary scenario is? Is low interest rates. You know that? Low interest rates is actually a deflationary scenario. Let me explain this to you. Inflation, when you have a interest rate that is close to or very close to zero, like when you have a return on your capital investment that is at zero or turns negative, that is a deflationary scenario, right? And let me explain this again, because so if you have low interest rates and you have a return on capital investment that is not beating inflation, that's how low interest rates are. You got low inflation and you have low interest rates, but the interest rate return on your capital investment is so low that it doesn't beat inflation. That is a negative return on capital investment, and that is deflationary. Low interest rates is a deflationary scenario. If you want more in-depth information on this, look up Dr. Lacey Hunt. Right? Dr. Lacey Hunt really describes this stuff very deeply. Okay. Okay, back to it. Let's give this a little bit better analogy so you understand it. Let's go back to the early 80s high interest rates. You invest $1 million with the United States government, you get a return on your investment for $1 million for 10-year treasuries, US government, $150,000 a year for $1 million investment. Pretty good. Right. You go to a low interest rate environment where you have the 10-year yield that's bringing in less than 1%. It's yielding like 0.5%. Everybody's saying drive interest rates low, right? You take the US Treasury, you take it down to like 1% or less. Now you invest $1 million, $1 million with the United States government, and you have a very low interest rate, then what you're going to get is a return on your capital investment on that. You'll get your $1 million back, but then you'll also over time, I mean, as far as your return over time for the 10 years, you're going to get a return of like $10,000. I mean, for your $1 million investment, you're going to get a return of like, $10,000 for a 1% interest. Is that really like, a position where you really want to be in? Probably not. Right. So now when we think about it in this fashion, then it's not so much the idea of a low interest rate sparking consumers, because that's the way it used to be. Right. And it still does in a lot of ways, but that wasn't how the Federal Reserve really operated in their inflation creation. See, the Federal Reserve would try to lower interest rates to spark investment into corporations to basically buy employment, right? So if you lowered interest rates, then, people would go out there, buy houses, cars, and go on vacation. But more importantly, you would find corporations wanting to expand their operations. And part of that expansion of their operations was hiring people. The more people you hire, the more people who are consuming, then you have that supply-demand imbalances and inflation starts to rise. They actually had something called the neutral employment rate. They still do, right? But the neutral employment rate, like anything above it, would be, in a sense, like if you had unemployment low, it would create inflation. If you raised unemployment, it would lower inflation. And then there was this neutral employment rate. The problem that they face is that neutral employment rate became very close to zero. So no matter how low unemployment got, they couldn't create the inflationary scenario because of it. And now most people don't understand exactly why, but really the reality comes down to 80% of the people that would normally start increasing their consumption no longer participate enough in consumption to actually stimulate the economy. That is up to the top 20%. So the top 20%, the way that they get their income is through a return on yield. So the return on yield is through higher interest rates. That higher interest rates now gives them more return on their capital, their investments. They get to deploy that into the consuming. Now, you don't believe me, just look at it. The top 20% of the people do like 75% of the consumption. The top 10 do 50% of the consumption. The bottom 80% are really irrelevant to the whole thing. When it comes to a consumer-based economy, I mean, it's just the way it is. I mean, we do some consumptions, but it's usually done on the issuance of debt. So really, we end up being debt slaves for our consumption, where everybody else is getting a return on their capital for consumption. You see the difference inside of it? This is another reason why the wedge is being driven so deep. And again, it's not anything to blame. Like, a lot of people want to blame politics or banks or something for this, and I don't get it, because it's not anybody to, like, you don't have to go and buy the new car. You don't have to take out the debt, be a debt slave, and buy the new car. You can try from a very young age to live as meager as possible, and then take your return into capital investments of some sort, starting businesses, buying dividend paying stocks, buying into speculations like cryptocurrencies or something of that nature. But most people end up buying beer and weed, right? Or a new car, or a fancy vacation, or jewelry, or, right? But they don't think about where it is that they could get this money to actually have a return to them, because that's really what it comes down to. Even if you screw it up, think about that in a thing. Most people are scared of failure, right? They're scared of screwing it up, so instead they'll go get drunk. Okay, so let's pretend that we're not going to get drunk, and we're actually going to be okay with that money just disappearing, because we're already willing to go get drunk with it. So let's just say, okay, we're just going to throw it away at something else. Let's throw it away at a stock. Have you ever thought about it that way, giving it that kind of meaning? Because now all of a sudden you don't worry about whether or not you're going to lose it. You already knew you were going to lose it. You're going to go get drunk. You're going to go blow it and smoke. Right? Oh no, you're going to lose all your money. You put it in that stock market. I tell you what, it's stupid. All right. Unnamed agency, undisclosed location, $5. Just joined. You take on Epstein crap. Great job. Take on Epstein crap. I have no idea. I don't follow things. I don't get on and I don't if it doesn't suit me, if I can't use it for my own, okay, like, if I cannot use it to make me money, then what the hell am I doing? Like, if this thought does not somehow make me money, how do I use it to make me money? Like, get out there and make me money and come back with it. If you don't come back with it, then what are you doing coming back? I don't need that. I need stuff in my life that's going to be making me money. I don't know where Epstein's going to make me any money. I can't, like, I mean, I don't know, maybe I got 15 seconds to make some money with him. If you want to start sending me some super chats to continue talking about Epstein, maybe I can make some money doing that. But other than that, I'm off of it. I don't have no idea. I have nothing to add about that. Thanks for this. Thanks for the money. I really appreciate it. Unnamed agency, undisclosed location, $2, man. I really appreciate it, dude. I do. I wasn't trying to be offensive or anything. I mean, that was really cool. All right. I use Save and use Cash Now. Thank you again, unnamed. Yeah, I really do appreciate the super chats and everybody who is contributing to the channel with the super chats and the thumbs up and the sharing of the videos and everything that's going on. We're 48 minutes into this already with 200 people watching and 102 likes to it, $12 in super chats. Go hit that like button, that thumbs up button. We'll get this YouTube algorithm to spread the video around more so we can continue to talk about our favorite conspiracy theories, mine being your name spelled in capital letters, concealed weapons permits, and the money system itself. All right, UE is the GOAT. Thank you. Thank you very much, Brian. I appreciate it, man. All right, standard nursery. No money or happiness comes from random flashy distractions. We all do the same, do to some extent, deplorable. All right. All-nighter up in the house. I love it, man. All right. Who is Epstein? Yeah. All right. M Rider 777. Do you think the Federal Reserve is going to negative interest rates in the buying a future debt? Well, I mean, I think those are possibilities, and I don't think that's anytime soon. So, like when somebody says, is this going to be happening? Yeah, most likely. I mean, I can imagine that it's going to happen, but there's a long road to that. Like, I don't think it's going to happen in like a timeline. I think it's going to happen over the course of the necessity at the time. Like the tools are being developed for deployment when they are needed. How about that? Right. So as the time goes on and the issues come up in which that the deployment of these tools are needed, that's when they'll happen. So you can watch out for them by like liquidity issues and the debt issuance from the Treasury itself. Like we already know that the United States government is on an unsustainable debt path. The Fed has said that. So when it becomes an issue of talking about, like we know that that's probably going to end up being closer to the purchasing of foreign debt. Now, I can't imagine that happening until we have central bank digital currencies in place so they can be a lot more in control of the flow of money and where it goes. That all being said is a very long road. It seems like a very long road away. Like I think it can happen and I believe it'll happen and I think it's going to go down something similar to that road, but over like how long of a period? And then, you know, how do you invest for that today? It's just like I don't know. You just got to be aware of it, I think, and then you would just naturally be, making the right decisions because you're just knowing that it's taking place. All right, negative interest rates means banks is dead. It's like using nuclear weapons to ensure someone else doesn't. Yeah, BD, but the problem with that is that that's also taken on the idea of failure, right? So that's also the idea that the banks have no idea what they're doing when they go in the negative interest rates, and I think that's a very dangerous way to look at it. Now, I've also looked at negative interest rates from the perspective of the Bureau of International Settlements. Is that where I got that article? IMF, Bureau of International Settlements. Anyway, I've talked about it a zillion times. In that those guys are talking about a negative interest rate and the need for basically an e-currency, cashless society. They need a cashless society in order to take interest rates into a negative territory. So to understand that the development of central bank digital currencies is probably in line with what it is that the IMF or the Bureau of International Settlements, whatever. I'm so sorry, I cannot remember what article I got it from, but I have done videos on it and you can go and do the research and find it yourself. But these guys were talking about needing this type of environment to have a negative interest rate. So to think that they didn't already plan to do this well in advance to create the e-currency, to create the environment to remove cash from the system in order to deploy negative interest rates, I think that's like I think that's taken a very like I mean, I don't mean any offense by it, but that's a naive approach, right? Because they have communicated this. They communicated it many times. I mean, they've talked about stable coins and how stable coins can be issued, how they can use cash to back these stable coins, remove the cash out of the system, and essentially deploy dollar policy the same as they always have, and it would transfer right into the stable coin. So the Federal Reserve would can continue to conduct themselves in the legal authority they already have, and then let the stable coin regulation be left up to Congress in order to make this happen. So like they're already developing this mechanism, right? Aren't Monday they've already developed the new transferring of communications for banks? Like they're already streamlining this stuff into instantaneous communications, and so it's like it's about ready to happen. To think that it's not is like again a naive approach about it. But how quickly is it about to happen? I think that's like I mean shit, who knows? I mean, is quickly in 10 years or is in quickly like a couple of months? Because quickly to me is in a couple of months. And 10 years isn't necessarily quickly. Um, but so other people quickly might be 10 years. Like, if you're 18 years old, quickly in 10 years, that's your whole life you have after that. That's going to be a whole new approach to what it is you're doing out there. So I can understand how quickly, can be different perspective for a lot of people out there. Deplorable. Oh, bro, dude. Here we go, man. I think women are men's greatest downfall when it comes to finances. Deplorable. Men are their worst downfall when it comes to women. That's the problem, man. See, the thing is that men think that they have to spend their money on women when women should be really making money for men. And I mean, that's a really sad way of looking at it. But if they're not there to make the best of your life, then why you have them around, man? You're not there to make the best of their life. You're there to give them a good, comfortable, secure place to raise your kids. And in the meantime, hopefully give them a security that gives them a comfortability to be in a feminine nature without having to stress about what it is that they got going on in their world to try and create some sort of security mind. Then, things end up flowing quite swimmingly. But if she's not there to benefit your life in every way, shape, or form to get on your game, then you can't, I'm sorry, bro, then she's like, yeah, I mean, you can have her as an acquaintance, I guess, but I wouldn't dedicate any time, effort, or energy into that. That's your fault. And I don't mean to talk bad about it, bro, but it's just like that's doesn't have anything to do with women. That's the way you treat women. Right? And it's hard for a lot of people because they hear that and then they think, oh, toxic, male toxic, identity or whatever. I mean, go for it, say whatever you want. I've been in a relationship for a very long time and I've watched a lot of people's relationships crumble into the dirt. And I think about what it is that most people are failing at in life, and usually it's their own behavior that comes down to it. And that if they just think about the reflection that they are getting from their thoughts, right? Even the idea women are the downfall of men, just straight up saying it is going to have a reflection of it. That's the problem. It's the men's behavior. They wouldn't have that reflection if they didn't think that way. Right? I don't think that way. I don't get a reflection like that. I mean, I know a lot of people in my life. I don't make them go working for me or anything like that, but I don't look at anybody as being a consequence to my life. Everybody is a teacher and a lesson. When I share my ideas, when I share my thoughts, when I, try and do business deals, whatever, I mean, it's an equal game for everybody out there. I don't really think twice about anything out there. And when I see that, most people have this idea on the way that it should be, I think, man, that's a very egotistical way of looking at things. Comes down. The problem that we face nowadays with relationships and women is that we have a lack of masculine men. That's the real problem that we're facing. And men that are in fear of how it is that people are going to view their behavior. We lack that. We have abundance of that, right? But we don't have an abundance of people who are trying to get out of that behavior. In fact, they look at it and then they try to push it away and push it down and say, don't do this and don't behave that way. And then they look at the problem and say, look at this rising problem over here. And it's just like, hey, you guys over there, shut up. Look at this problem over here. And it's just like, well, you ever think that maybe, possibly, yeah, that it's your own behavior that is reflecting this view? I don't see it. I don't see it the way a lot of other people do. And maybe it's because I've been in a relationship for 30 years, but I tell you, it wasn't exactly easy getting through that relationship and having to come up with a lot of discoveries of what it is that behavior does to the other person when you live in an idea of what it is that you are doing is trying to be in a creation of an environment that is going to make everybody happy, and you tiptoe around everything, and then you think, man, how come it is that everybody gets so angry when I get so angry, or there's all this frustration and stuff, and and I laugh at it when I hear people say it. And I'm thinking, I used to live that same world. I used to live in that exact same world. And one day I was just like, man, I cannot do this anymore. If it's going to come down to, I'm going to say stuff that people are either going to agree with or disagree with. They're either going to like it or they're not going to like it. And the people who resonate with it are going to appreciate it. And they're going to recognize what it is for the truth and the reality of the situation, no matter how harsh it is. I mean, it's just, there's no point sugarcoating anything anymore. Alright, just roll to that gold out in 10 seconds. Coffee sounds real good. Yeah, I've had too much coffee. I just need coffee. Oh, All right, P. Morton, I give it 2 months after Powell's term ends until another depression. Or I'm going to do a video on this, but what I feel is taking place right now, I got to get out of this truck too. It's getting turning into 1,000,000 degrees. This is the thing that's going on. Powell, I have said it a billion times. Powell makes no difference. So I can, like, you can pink Powell out of here. It would make no difference to my understanding of what's going on with monetary policy and what's being done with the Federal Reserve. So to even believe that the Federal Reserve is going to somehow have a profound change after Powell leaves, it really is the conspiracy theory that it comes down to believe that Powell, once he leaves, there's this profound change that, that happens. But to understand that profound change that's about ready to happen to the Federal Reserve was already about ready to happen. You think about it, the federal, like, there's all this talk about Powell, like, resigning, right? And I'm thinking, man, what if he decides to resign at the exact time they changed the consensus statement? I did a Patreon article on this just recently. So this and I really want to do a video on this too, because I really think this is what's taking place, right? Even if you think about it, if Jerome Powell was to bail out now, how much news coverage would you get of Powell bailing out on the Federal Reserve? You would be blowing up all over the place. It would be like wide coverage. Trump got his way. Now comes the change to the Federal Reserve. And then they changed the consensus statement at the exact same time. Think about how the impact would be driven into the people that there was this profound change to the Federal Reserve, even though they were going to do this change anyway. Like, the consensus statement is already written. You know it is. They're not going to just like develop those like, oh shit, guys, the consensus statement is due. We better hurry up and get that thing written. No, of course not. They already got the thing written. They're just waiting to deploy it. Right? And so for those of you who don't know what the consensus statement is, it's the statement on long run goals and strategies. And go and just Google it, the Federal Reserve's consensus statement, right? Or long run statement on policies and strategies or something of that nature. And it's a statement that they put out like every 5 years. And it gives the people an idea of what it is that the monetary policy is really looking to do. And in that statement, it clearly says that the Federal Reserve is seeking to achieve inflation that is moderately above 2% for some time. And they say it over and over again in their speeches. They say it in their statement to Congress just recently, like in February of this year. They said that exact same thing. Monetary policy will likely achieve inflation that is moderately above 2% for some time. So when I think about this consensus statement and how it is that it's about ready to change, and that portion of it, that exact portion, the one that I have been so focused in on trying to tell people that they are not going for a 2% target, but going for 2% average inflation rate over time, is within that consensus statement. And if that consensus statement changes that wording at the same time that Powell resigns, it's not Powell doing it. And I'm going to say that right now. How many minutes into this? This is exactly 1 minute, 1 hour, 2 minutes into this video that I have made that statement. And now I'm going to do a video on it later. But I just wanted to be clear that that's what I believe is going to take place if there was, for some obscure reason, Powell did resign. I bet you anything it happens at the exact same time of the change of the consensus statement, and people will believe that the consensus statement change was due to the fact that Powell has left. Conspiracy theory. Bang. Right there. All right. How many else are thinking this way? Probably very few. People probably think I'm nuts. You know? All right. Hey, where did everybody go? Hold on 1 second. All right. What does All Nighter say here? Samuel, a delivery charge is typically around $65. Hello, hope you all have a great Sunday. Anybody else in here that has high blood pressure, and how did you get it down? I prefer natural methods, not medication. If I go on meds, then I will be, but I really want to just do this on my own. Sorry, Nathan, I was stumbling through that. I don't know. I'm kind of a stressed out person and I drink a lot of coffee, so I don't know, maybe slow the videos down and then they won't be as stressful. Have I told my wife to stop working? You know, she's not working right now. And she has many times in the past not worked, right? And we cut back on our expenses to allow that to happen so she could spend time with the kids. Yes, deplorable. We have done that in our past. And never once, no matter how broke I was, did I ever take any kind of government assistance for anything. Ever. Even when I should have. Right? So no. Like, I mean, I have done exactly everything that I've ever said. Right? I can't hide anything from you guys. Like, I can't say that I'm anything that I'm not. Like, I'm not anything. I'm not anything. That's why I titled this thing The Uneducated Economist, because I didn't have anything to prove to you guys. Everything that I say is straight from the heart, and it's honest, and it's real. You know? Yeah. You know, and I tell you what, her not working was hard. It was a hard existence. It was worth it at the time. You know, she got to spend time with the kids at the most critical time that they needed somebody to be with them consistently. It was so worth it, right? And it put us in a very difficult spot to get out of, and it was a hard road to get out of. But again, I think every time that I look back at it, it was worth it. It was so worth it, right? And now, right, it's time to, it's time for other things to take place. And part of that time it's working, and part of that time it's taking care of, doing things around, like running Freddie to the fair that's coming up soon, and doing all the other things that go around with it that spends a lot of time, that I'm just like, hey, that's a lot, like, that's a lot to me. Like, I wouldn't want to deal with all this, and like, I can't even give you the list of shit that she does, I mean, it's like, I look at it, I'm like, yep, all right. It's funny. uh I gotta get out of this truck. It is hot. Women make more money than men. They are starting to. Sometimes not really the stress, it's the copious amounts of drinking I've been doing over the years, and I've cut way back on the alcohol, no more than 2 beers a night. Yeah, that'll do it. I mean, you think about it. Think about all the money you put into beer, like, you just threw it away. Why don't you just throw it into cryptocurrencies? Throw it into stocks, throw it into silver. Do you think women make more money and more educated than men is a big problem? No, I think it's a sign of the times. I think it's a sign of the times because things are just too easy right now, right? And the traditional ways of being, like, it's an economics thing that's really taken place, because really the traditional methods is, guys had to be outstanding, and they had to be really good providers in order to be able to be attractive enough to a woman to get her to appreciate them, But if she can provide for herself in that way, then she doesn't really look at men in the same fashion. So it's no longer like a view that they're the provider, because they can essentially provide for themselves. So it's no longer a view like that. And this is where I think a lot of times men think, man, why is this such a problem? I am such a good provider. I do everything right. I'm a nice guy. I don't yell. I don't do all the, and then list off all these things. And I'm thinking, yeah, if you were back about 60, 70 years ago, you'd be probably a really good fit. You'd probably be a really good fit. But nowadays, what you end up competing against is a bunch, well, you're not even in competition. What it is you have to be, in a sense, attractive enough to then, go beyond that of what it is that women are looking for instinctually in a man. And that's hard to do, right? Because instinctually, what they are looking for is somebody who is better than they are. And if they can make as much money and provide for themselves and all that, then it's very difficult to be better than women, right? And that's exactly what they are looking for, is somebody who's going to be better than them. They may not know it, but instinctually, just think about it. That's a primitive, instinctual thing. And it's not something you can cover up. I mean, you can consciously say, I'm not that way, but then deep down inside, that's what's really that's the attractive part of it. And so what you end up finding a lot of times is that like modern day women who have found this success in their life where they don't need a man for anything, then what ends up being attractive are the most primitive of instinctual behaviors, like bad behavior or like Top Gun behavior, like the dude who has like thousands of girlfriends and gets them all the time. They end up being the most attractive, and so it's hard to to put yourself in this position to be attractive when you have like women essentially looking for something that is better than them, and they're just as good essentially, and that's where, like, a lot of times the deterioration starts to take place and the breakdown happens. So my suggestion to men is to not stress about what it is, right? Like, that's the way it is. Go and be the most outstanding dude you could possibly be, and don't care about what it is that means to anybody else but you. You do that, and you put off an energy of attraction that is unlike anything else. It's the most magnetic thing in the entire world. Even somebody who is in a bad spot failing decides that they're going to turn their life around and starts pursuing that as what is most important to them, and getting themselves motivated and moving, and not really like, doing this for anything other than them being higher up and leveling up with everything that they got with their game. They find people attracted to that like you wouldn't believe. That is what is attractive nowadays. Okay? Not trying to do it to say, hey, look, I've positioned myself to be the most attractive person. And it was just like, you don't even care about that. Right? By even thinking that, you have already defeated yourself. Everything nowadays is all coming down to the energy levels. Right? And women feel energy like they are the energy readers of all energy readers. They can sense it from a billion miles away. And if they know that you're doing something to be manipulative, like I'm doing this so that I can be attractive to get women, they will hate you for it. When they look at you and they say, holy crap, this is a guy who's on his game and can care less about anything else that's going on except for the success of his goals, holy shit, does that look attractive, right? And that's what it really comes down to nowadays. All the rest of the stuff is superficial because women can do anything they want. But they have a hard time finding a guy like that. And then even better yet, it's what is so attractive is that they love chasing that. All right? That's what they love to chase. And the more you give attention, the moment that you give attention to it, it was just like, oh, baby, I love you. And I think that I'm going to like postpone these goals so that I can spend time with you. It's over. You've got to stay focused on your goals in order to remain attractive, because your goals were the original part of it. That's what got you the attraction to begin with. That's what you have to maintain. And if she pulls you off the game, it's over. Think about it like that. If you think about it like that, I assure you, you will have plenty going on. Nobody does. If you're doing it to try and be manipulative, if you were even saying I am in a good spot to be attractive to women, you've already failed. You've already failed. Sad, right? But it's kind of almost a victim of your circumstances. Between the music, the movies, all the sitcoms, all the stuff that's out there, we've been conditioned to think in a way that is actually counterintuitive to our natural instinctual behavior, and what it is that's more in line with the energies that most people want to feel. Women don't want to feel a masculine energy. They want to feel a feminine energy. I mean, don't get me wrong. Some women want to feel masculine energy, but most women want to be in a feminine energy. That's what they want to feel, right? But if they feel scared, if they feel uncertainty, if they feel, out of place, or they feel like they have to do it for themselves, well, that's a very masculine behavior, and it becomes very difficult to interact with that. The whole thing starts to collapse and fall apart. I don't know. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, now that I think about it, it's just like I know some couples who, like, the woman of the relationship is more of the masculine energy, the conductor of business and stuff like that, and her husband is kind of behind the scenes taking care of things, and that relationship works absolutely awesome. But I think that's the idea behind it, right? Is that they kind of share the appropriate energies for connection in that fashion. So anyway, moving on. What time is it? Are we done? Why are we talking about this? Weren't we talking about conspiracy theories? All right. It's been secret. Okay. I haven't owned a TV for 4 years. Good for you. I own a TV, but it's only for like, well, I mean, I guess just recently we got some internet, so, but before we just watch DVDs and stuff with it, and that's really all we do is watch movies. Because that's really about the only thing a TV at home is useful for. Alcohol is devil juice. It should be illegal, but there's a reason it isn't. Absolutely unbelievable. I don't think it should be illegal. In fact, I don't think really anything should be illegal. And I know a lot of people will push back against that. It was just like my own state had to recriminalize a lot of the drugs that were out here that were decriminalized. But ultimately, like, when you take something that somebody wants and you make it illegal, then you're just going to cause it to have a lot of value, and the crime and everything that comes from it is just extreme. So to me, like, to make it illegal is really just asking for it. Making a conscious choice not to do it, I think that's it. Right? I think that's the only way to really do it, is to understand that you are making that decision to give up alcohol on your own. And there's nobody else out there who's really going to do it. And you can't make other people do it either. Like, even the idea that we should make it illegal. Why? So that other people don't do it? I mean, who are you to tell people to do that? I used to tell people not to drink, right? I would think, man, don't come around me when you're drinking. I hate that idea. And I was thinking, man, that's my problem, not their problem. That's my problem that I am trying to express onto them. You know, I was like, no way. That's not going to work. So I had to realize and own up to my own problems. And my own problem is like, I had a problem with alcohol. It's not my problem to push out onto other people saying, hey, you shouldn't drink either. That's not for me to do. All right. Now, by sharing my ideas of what happened with me and giving up of alcohol and moving into sobriety and facing the ideas of what happens, the consequences of being in, you know, going into sobriety and having to deal with like all the mental issues that come up that you were covering up with alcohol and all that other stuff, that wasn't easy necessarily to talk about, right? And most people don't realize how difficult of a situation that is to face. And by me coming out here and talking about it, I'd hope that that actually gives them some sort of encouragement to, you know, face those demons themselves. This is the only way to get people to quit. If you do it any other way, then you're going to be pushing against a power that is going to have a lot of resistance. In fact, it will have the most resistance because people will do anything to drink. People who are drinking and want to drink will do anything to drink. Anything. Like, it's scary what they would do. Thoughts on aliens? Do you believe in the little gray people? Yeah, I kind of do. But I don't give it a lot of thought about it. I just find it very difficult to believe that out of the great giant universe and universes upon galaxies or whatever, just as much as there is out there, I find it very difficult that there's not something else out there living beyond the planet Earth. Like, I just find that hard to believe. So there's got to be another little planet out there with life on it. Now, whether it's little gray aliens or not, I don't know, right? But I just find that to be very difficult to believe, right? That it's like, out of all the infinite possibilities of all these different planets, of all these different galaxies, of all these different areas around the universe, that we're it and only it. That I think I believe the opposite of that. All right. Plenty of people have alcohol dependencies and don't drink in a healthy manner. Socially, I am solitary for that reason. Avoid small town booze culture. That's the only reason why I did drink. It was before the culture. In fact, I miss it. That's probably one of the things I miss the most about alcohol, is hanging out with people and getting drunk. And it was just hanging out with people and getting drunk. Like, that's it. It was just the fun of that. And it's just not the same. Like, you can hang out with people all day long. It's fun. But hanging out with people and getting drunk, like just sitting around the can and getting drunk, the conversations that you have, the feelings that you get from it, the whatever, the dropping inhibitions, whatever it comes, especially when you're younger, how fun that is. Like, all that stuff It's a great time. You don't get that in any other energy other than alcohol. Well, I'm sure you probably could, but for the most part, you only get that in alcohol. I miss that stuff, right? But I also understood those were pleasurable experiences that led me right into a path of pain. So I know when I go into pleasurable experiences that I am going to have a resulting equal to that of painful experiences. It's going to cost me something somehow. Hangover, I'm bloated, I'm sick, I'm broke, I'm in debt, somebody's mad at me, right? I mean, it was just like all this stuff that will happen from it. But gosh, what a great time that was. Uh, I don't get alcoholism, and good for you, Kitty Alley TV or Kid Alley TV. Thank you. That is awesome. If you don't get alcoholism, that's actually a really good thing, bro. Yeah. Alcohol disturbs sleep. Yeah. Do you think a video with 10,000 views in a small channel of 200 is a good start to a big channel? I would think so. Is that you? Did you get that? Function alky? Hmm. You're better off that way, kid. Yeah, for sure, Brody. I totally agree. Uh, there has to be something else out there. Yeah, for the aliens, yeah. Here, he's super confused about the Epstein files. I tried to tell him years ago. Most people have no idea how big the universe really is. You're right, I'm dealing with a serious issue right now, and I want to deal with my alcohol issue before it gets to the point where there's no returning before I cross that bridge. Nathan? I mean, even the idea that you're kind of discussing it is already meaning that you're kind of leading down the road. I mean, what are you going to do, dude? I mean, you're just going to sit there and wake up tomorrow and do it again and wondering why it is that it's so painful for you not to drink? I mean, are you just going to wonder that, or are you going to just drink? Go ahead and just drink. Because I tell you, you're going to have to wonder about it. And it's going to suck, and it's going to hurt, and it's going to be bad, and you're going to be bored, and you're going to be frustrated, and you're going to be pissed, and you're probably going to cry a little bit from it. All right? Because that's what being an alcoholic and being addicted feels like. And you have to own that for a while. You're going to have to own that fog that you feel from being addicted, and it sucks because you're sitting there wondering why. You don't get it. Why do I feel this way? I shouldn't feel this way. I wish I could think about anything else but not think about this, and I cannot not think about this. That's the fog that you live in. Everything around you has it, it carries it, and it ends up being on you like it's stuck to your skin. And it's weird, like you can't shake it. You wake up in the morning thinking about it. You go to bed thinking about it. Yeah. You're wondering why. Why is it like this? Why do I even think this way? And I can't stop it. Yeah, that's addiction for you, bro. That's what addiction feels like. You have to face it. You have to know while you're sitting there watching the movie, this is what addiction feels like. And you watch the movie knowing you're addicted. All right? Knowing that that's the feeling that you get from being addicted. That's the consequence. That's the punishment from being a pleasure seeker your whole life is you have to face this. I assure you, it'll go away. It don't feel like it'll go away. It doesn't get any, it does not feel like it'll go away. And I tell you, sometimes, like for me, it took a long time. Like I just thought that's just the way it is. It's just the way it is. You just feel that way all the time. You feel frustrated, you feel aggravated, you feel short-tempered. You're just thinking, man, all I want to do is drink. I think about it more at 4 o'clock than at any time in the day. And then I think about, man, if I could just once, right? You think about all those things. That's addiction, man. That's it. You're not alone in that. Everybody goes through that. I went through that a lot. It hurt. It was like it to the point that it literally felt like pain. Right? I mean, that's how bad it was. It literally felt like a painful experience. I felt it. It was like in my chest, in my stomach, in my arms. It felt like somebody had me so wrapped and tense. And I was like, I couldn't get out. I couldn't get it off. Yeah. And you go through that for a while, and you got to talk to people because you can't just sit there and stew in it. So you got to go to rooms, or you got to have somebody cool like like a wife like I have, who did go through all the process of AA and doing the doing the steps and doing all the things, you know. And without it, I don't know how else you're gonna do it. Like, if you don't have somebody like Sarah, then you have to go to the rooms. There's like, I don't know how else you're gonna do it. Like, who are you gonna do? I mean, I guess you can sit there and talk to yourself. You can listen to my videos. That kind of helps a little bit, but there's no way that you're gonna get it all out. You can't. Not here, right? And so, unless you have a friend that's really, really good and understands and willing to sit with you while you sit there and spill it all out there and do all the things that you need to do, because that's what the whole AA process is all about, is going through the steps that you need to go through in order to overcome these feelings and addictions and things that you have. I mean, unless you're just sitting there willing to just power through all that on your own, figuring it all out, what it is that you need to do step by step, I mean, then it's going to be a long, difficult road. I mean, it's just the way it is. I don't know. I don't know how to make it any better for you. Once you do, you'll understand. You'll look back on it and you'll be like, I get it now, dude. I really get it. I really get it now, right? It's just that there's literally every single day is a battle to get through it. Every day. You know? Wake up in the morning is probably one of the hardest parts of it. Right? Because that moment, you know that you said it the day before. Today is the day that I don't drink. And that's the hardest part, is because it starts then. And at first, you're really down for it. Like, you're good. Right? You want to do it. And the further you get into the day, the more the little things start to happen, the more the tired feeling, the achy, the frustrations, the deserving of this, because you have put in so much hard work. All those justifications start to come through. And when you get off of work, it's time. So every day, it's a struggle. There's nothing you can do about it. There's nothing you can do to shake that. There's people who try the chemicals and try the pills and try the hypnotism and all the other stuff. And some of it might work for some people. I don't know. For me, it was face it, straight up, cold turkey, go for it, face it, right? And feel it hard, right? Feel it really, really hard. Because if the harder you feel it, then the most likely you probably won't go back, right? If it's painful, and pain, right? Own the pain of it. So yeah, like, if it's gonna hurt me to sit here and not drink, and I'm gonna feel pain for it, make it hurt real bad, right? Make it hurt as bad as possible so that I'll really remember it. Because maybe I won't drink after that. See, people ask me, I was just like, don't you ever want it? And I'm thinking, yeah, every single day I want it. Like, I mean, are you kidding me? I want it every day. And then I think about the mountain of beer cans that was behind my garage. That mountain of beer cans still is gone. I mean, it hasn't existed for a long time, but in my mind, it still exists. And if I drink a beer, I'll be throwing it right back on top of that mountain of cans. Yeah, I see people are bouncing. Is the sound going? Okay, exactly. Hobbies, distractions are critical. Yep. Simon, I have probably said this before, but your wisdom and your encouragement has had a really positive effect on me. Thank you. Well, thank you, Brody. You know, I really appreciate your dedication to the channel. You're here every time, man, and I put out a lot of content, so thank you for being here and moderating the comment section. All right. Yes, sir. Even live underneath the freeway overpass and stand on the corner begging for money. Well, I mean, I don't want to talk about anybody. I have a family member who does that now. I don't even think they can do that now. Like, I don't even know if they can really stand or move around anymore. So that was something that they used to do, to beg for beer money. And yeah, it's a horrible addiction. All right. World of Misery. My pleasure. Yeah, thank you, Brody, again. You will choose your addiction over other things that are important. You will, absolutely. Hey, Hyder, hope fishing is going well. Yeah, I agree. Thank you, Big Hill, for Thinking to hide her. Greetings from Washington. Right on, Eric. Was there a period of time, like some say, it takes 21 days to break a habit, to move beyond an addiction? I have no idea. I mean, to be honest with you, I don't think I don't think I've ever not been addicted. Like I don't think that's a thing for me. Like I want to drink right now. Like even the idea of talking about it, I want to drink like this. I have a tangerine ginger extract flavored sparkling water. And to me, like even the drinking of it, like I can imagine it having some sort of alcohol to run through my system so I could feel that little tingle running through my arms and my legs. You know exactly the one I'm talking about. You know that one you get after a hard day's of work and you take a shot and then you back it up with another shot and then you feel it really hit through you? You know, I think about that every time I drink something that's really sparkling and has kind of like a little kick to it. I that triggers, right? It doesn't trigger me to go do it, but it triggers the thought. And it's always there. That's addiction. I know it. I feel it. Like I feel it every day. You know, I go and get non-alcoholic beer, and I drink them occasionally. I will go and get them after I mow the lawn. I literally pretend that it has alcohol in it, and I guzzle it, and I think about what it would be like to have that tingle running through my veins, to run through my arms. I do that. I do that. That's how addicted I am. I imagine the feeling that I could get from it from drinking a non-alcoholic beer, but I won't do it. I hold myself back. I won't do the real thing. But I pretend as close as I can, and I imagine it as close as I can. I don't know why. That's the addiction in me. That's my addiction. Right? I can't give it up. Like I can. I don't do it, but I get so much pleasure out of that, especially after mowing the lawn. Right? It's probably one of my favorite times to do something like that. I don't really get disappointed that there's no buzz from it. I used to, maybe in the early days, I might have gotten a little disappointed, thinking, "Oh man, this is such a disappointment." I don't feel that way anymore. I just guzzle it and then imagine what that would be like, and then I move on to whatever thing I got going on. You know. I totally agree with you guys. Non-alcoholic beer has helped me reduce my beer intake greatly. He pays me in peanuts. I probably prefer NA beers. Yeah, Brody has done this completely out of the kindness of his heart. I can't believe how much dedication he has. So, in other words, it's more about changing behavior and what you associate with pleasure. I mean, I think that's entirely up to you and the meaning that you give everything that's behind it. I mean, this is really what I'm come down to the conclusion of is that I've told you guys many times, I didn't know what happened to me when my channel took off, and all of a sudden I'm just like, it's blowing up. I'm getting a lot of ad revenue. Lumber's taking off. My channel's taking off. Everything is just happening in such a different way, you know. And I really think about, well, what happened to me? Like, why all of a sudden did I have this profound difference in my life? Right? And although I know it had a lot to do with the people that I was associating with at the time, but really, I think it was the meaning that I was giving everything. Like when I would go out there and I would do research, I would research with the idea of how is it that they're pushing against me? And I would look for evidence of it. I would look for evidence of the failure. And that was my research. That's how I did a lot of the research in the early days. So I guess when it comes to conspiracies, I think it's probably a good thing to actually go through the conspiracy mindset for a while, right? So you'll dive in and do a lot of research to see what it is that's going on out there. But as I started going into this and started realizing, man, I know that I'm not thinking right. Right? I just knew that part. Like I didn't know exactly how I wasn't thinking right. I just knew I wasn't thinking right. And so I started to try and think about things that were going to be positive and in my direction. Like, how is it that I use the information for myself to make videos? Where is it that I can get extra money to pay my debts? You know, extra money beyond the money you're making. Right? And so I thought about these sort of things. And the more I started thinking about that, the better life was getting. Well, as those things were getting better, I just couldn't help but to naturally try to think more about it. Like as the YouTube channel was growing, I was just like, how do I make better videos? How do I make the next video? What is the next topic going to be? And I just started building it up in this fashion with a direction to go with my thoughts. That wasn't one of how is it that they're taking me out? Let me look for the failure. Instead, I was even looking for the failure, but then trying to use it to try and benefit my life, which that meant that I'm looking at it in a more positive fashion. You know, even if I was trying to deploy the information in a way that says, hey, look at this negative aspect of this economy, I was still using the information to benefit myself. So I was looking at it in a way that was like, nah, man, this is good for me, right? And so as I was giving it this different meaning, that one way it was deteriorating my life and another way that it was enhancing my life, everything started to change. So I know that it's about the meaning that you give everything. Like if somebody, here, let's go back to your date, right? You go back, you know, you're a young man, you're trying to date, and you find that this girl that you were communicating with, you know, texting was going good. You had a fun interaction that got the texting going to begin with. You go and you hang out, and it kind of falls apart, right? And not showing why, but the communication all of a sudden ends, all this other stuff. Instead of looking like too deep into it, you just look at it as a lesson, right? This person taught me a lesson. What was it? Right? I have great interaction in the initial front end game of things, right? Or something of that nature. I have great, you know, ice breaking skills. I have great texting skills, but I have horrible deep communication skills. I am very superficial in my communications, right? This might have been a lesson that you learned from it. Who knows, right? I'm just making something up, right? Same thing can happen with business. It was just like, you know, I've made 30 business calls and each one of them answered with a quick no. It was just like, well, how are you approaching this? Is this approach exactly the same every single time? And what is it that you're thinking about when you're making these calls? Maybe think about something a little different and what it is that you can be useful with. You know, maybe ask a few questions on whether or not you're even going to be somebody who can help them. And so once you start looking at it, you think, man, all those 30 calls were a lesson, every single one of them. I can't look at it as failure. Failure is just the lessons that I learned, right? How did All-Nighter says it? First attempt in learning, right? That's what failure, it's an acronym. So think about it in that fashion, and then next thing you know, you're going to be doing things that are going to start being more of a benefit to your life because you've given everything meaning that is going to benefit you. Even the failures in life are benefiting you because you look at it as a benefit. How long are we into this video now? An hour and 36 minutes. What time is it? All right, it's almost noon. All right. What do we got here? Superficial. I don't think so, as you're a multi-level thinker. I don't know. I mean, I think, honestly, there is no real such thing as a superficial thought, right? I think if you were thinking of all the different circumstances out there, all the different possibilities, what you are thinking of is all the different possible infinite parallels of existence that could be. And see, this is the thing, you can never think of all of them. There's a million gazillion different possible alternative spaces that you could be in, and in parallel universes that you could be on as well. You know, something that I find very, very, you know, it's so weird to think. Like something as simple as like I wanted to have some stage time. Okay? And when I think about stage time, I don't really think about how it is that I'm going to get on stage. What I want to do is I want to be able to do a presentation, or I want to be able to do an entertainment or do something of that nature, right? And now I don't know what it is that's in me that has this feeling of wanting to do it. I really enjoy it. I enjoy grasping the attention of somebody and saying, hey, let me take you away from the world for just a minute so you can think about something funny. You can play this game. You can watch this show. You can get this information. Like, to me, being able to have that in my life or to be able to do that is, I don't know what drives me. It's like something that is so deep inside me that drives me to do it that I can't even explain how come it is. It's there. It's just, I just do it, right? And when I think about stage time, I don't think about how I'm going to do it. I was just thinking, man, it would be cool to be on stage for a little bit and get some stage time. I kid you not, it was within 3 months I was doing a play. I got invited to Zuber's conference. I went down to the Rebel Capitalists and did a speaking panel down in Florida. Like, this all happened within a very short amount of time. Like, well, I think it was 5 months, right? Between the beginning to the end of this, and I didn't think about how I was going to do it. Like, I knew I was going to I had already been invited to Zuber's conference, so I already knew that was going to happen, but everything else just came about, right? It just happened to be the parallel that I was going to land on, where I was going to be on those 3 stages within a short amount of time, never really planning or trying to do it. Yeah. That's belief in how this energy works. If you don't believe that, it won't work. You'll be left at the chaotic events and frustrations that probably most people live at. But if you truly honestly believe, man, no, my efforts, my time, and my thoughts, it's all aligned. Every bit of it. What I think about and how I give meaning to it is a reflection of the universe that I see. Alrighty, guys. We're going to have to call it quits here soon. We got 176 people with 157 likes. Thank you so much for hitting that thumbs up button. I tell you what, we have the 176. If you can get it up to 176 likes in the next 5 minutes, we get it to an hour and 45. I'll continue going for another 15. Otherwise, we'll just call it quits at the hour 45 minute mark. All right, it's amazing on how well this works, because just coming home and breaking the cycle of having an alcoholic beer and switching to a non-alcoholic beer after that beer, I don't have to desire to go. Yeah. Breaking the habit is really it. If you break the habit, you'll be able to start something new in your life pretty easy. Manifestations start as thoughts. You're absolutely right. In fact, everything, there's nothing else out there except for thoughts and your energy in the meaning behind them. That's the only thing that really exists. And those thoughts turn into realities. And that's the problem that a lot of people end up facing, and that was my problem. This is why I keep trying to explain it over and over again. And the condition that had me at my worst is because the thoughts that I had was the New World Order type of idea of negative belief, negative self-belief, failure is upon us, failure is coming soon. These were the ideas that I was carrying. And now, don't get me wrong, I was a fairly decent dude. Like, I was a nice guy. I joked around. I was even calling the bingo game back then. It was just like I was a normal everyday guy, but my condition of life was deteriorating, and I know it was because of the way that I was thinking and behaving and the energy that I was feeling behind all that. Once I changed that, everything changed, right? And it changed with a lot of the people that I had with around me. I chose to have some people around me who really got me thinking in a different way. And with that change of environment of people, it literally changed everything about it. And that's why I think it's so important that people like really focus in on who it is that surrounds them. Like, if you are surrounding yourself with people who are in deterioration, I guarantee you're going to absorb that energy of deterioration and follow right along with them. But if you are communicating and dealing with and aligning yourself with the thoughts of those who are excelling, guess what you're probably going to do, right? You're going to take on the thoughts and ideas and energy of excelling. What did I say to get it to? 175? You're at 167 in no time. Go for it. 2 more minutes to get another, what, 8? No, another 7 more people to hit the like button right now. All right. And I'll go for another 15. Otherwise, we'll call it quits in 2. The world as well in representation. Right. I love the simplicity of that comment. What did all-nighters referring to? Alright, yo, all-nighter hider, hope you're well. Alrighty, Wayne. Thanks for being here, brother. Why is Holocaust denial illegal in 18 European countries? Oh, Holocaust, okay. Illegal? All right. All right, you guys did it. 175 likes. Okay, so I'll continue on until 2 o'clock, but then I'm really going to call it quits. All right, what do we want to cover here? We've been talking conspiracy theories, and again, like my favorite ones, capital letters, your name spelled all in capital letters. The conspiracy theory behind concealed weapons permit, of course, that's my own personal one and my own personal belief, and then the big one, the money one, right? And everybody knows the conspiracy theory behind money. But what else do we want to break down? What theories are we discussing? So essentially, my favorite ones, we'll just cover those again real quick for 15 minutes. Essentially, my favorite number one conspiracy theory that most people have no idea about, and that's your name spelled all in capital letters. This is like the whole sovereign citizen idea. But when you think about your corporate identity is not you. You're the natural person. Your corporate identity is like as if it's a jacket that you have put on that you are now identifying yourself as, but it's not you. And now the easiest way to identify whether or not you're operating with your corporate identity is to look and see in whether or not whatever it is that's been addressed to you, or whether it's a document with your name on it, is and your name is spelled all in capital letters. That is a signifying of your corporate identity. Now, one of the ways that you can prove that this corporate identity exists is by looking at your check, like a checkbook, an average checkbook like you would, sign to pay somebody with. Look down at the line that you sign your name to. That's not a line. It's words. And the words are actually, I forgot to cover this. The words are actually authorized signature, because you're the authorized signature of that account. You are the authorized authority to sign for this corporate identity. And that's why it says authorized signature at the bottom, as opposed to just putting your signature, because your signature is that of the natural person, but you are authorizing or been authorized to sign on behalf of this corporate identity. And that's why it says authorized signature there. But instead, they hide it in tiny little micro print and make it look like a line. Right? That's the first one. So understanding like your sovereign citizen and understanding the corporate identity, that's probably the biggest conspiracy theory that I think most people miss. And when you get that one, like everything else essentially becomes secondary to it, because once you understand the sovereign citizen, now everything else is essentially a conspiracy theory to go against the sovereign citizen. So the sovereign citizen is the highest authority, and everything else is secondary under it. Most people have no idea, don't know how to conduct themselves with it, and they end up getting themselves into trouble trying to operate as a sovereign citizen within these legal court systems and whatever. Evidence of that, I believe, is within the concealed weapons permits. Now, again, I'm not trying to knock anybody for getting their concealed weapons permits. I don't think any less of anybody for doing it. I feel like very safe and comfortable and better company when I know that the people are concealed carrying. Like the people I know are concealed carrying. I feel so much better about that. Like, to me, that's a great position to be in, and I'm totally cool with it. But I think of the legalities behind asking for permit, for asking for a permission slip. To me, this is a very dangerous thing to do, because once you have asked for permission, you are admitting that you don't have the right. And now, if you go and get pulled over when you have a concealed weapons permit, you are now required to talk to the police officer, where before you had a right to silence. You see how you have relinquished your right by asking for a permission slip of that of a concealed weapons permit. Again, one of the biggest conspiracy theories I think is out there. So, and I've already covered, how it is that I truly feel about the people who do get their concealed weapons permit. This is my belief, my personal belief of it, and I don't want anybody to think that, man, I think lesser of anybody for getting a concealed weapons permit. Everybody I know who has one, I appreciate the fact that they are loaded. They are loaded. Like, I'm packed and carrying. Like, I am down for that. But the legalities behind that, I do question, right? And then on the final one, money, right? The money system itself is probably one of the biggest conspiracy theories, as most people look at the money and think, my money. And I'm thinking, no, it's not. It's not your money. That's where you lost it already. It's not your money. Unless it's silver or Bitcoin to a lesser extent, you don't have anything to do with it. You're involved with a third-party claim all the way chin deep, all right? The only way to get out of it is to have something tangible in your hand, and to a lesser extent, you might be able to consider cryptocurrencies that way. But for the most part, unless you are physically in possession of it, everything else is a third-party claim, including the folding paper money you have in your pocket, right? It's the liability of the Federal Reserve. And so when we think about it in this fashion and people say, oh, well, my money, it's like, no, you already got it wrong. It's not your money. Your position in the economy is yours. You can own it for the most part. If you don't give it up to the third-party claim, you can hopefully have some security by giving it to a third-party claim, and the idea that you can get a return on your interest rates or a return on that investment. But to understand it in this fashion is absolutely critical to know that it's all due in dollars, and those dollars that you are now thinking as money is not yours. So when you want to own it, you better own it in your hand. If you don't own it, if you don't hold it, you don't own it. You might think you do. All right. What's going on with Long John? He's cussing up a storm. All right. I'm innocent. Well, I don't know what's going on, man. All right. Absolutely. It appears to be one big Monopoly game, and it's a game without rules. You know, I don't know. I mean, I think about it. It was just like, to me, long time, like a really, really, really long time. I mean, 20 years. I mean, and I think about all the ideas of control, manipulation. I think about the way that most people view how it is that they are being held back, how it is that success would be so much easier if it wasn't for these outside forces. And I think to myself, man, I used to think a lot about that stuff too. And now that I don't, I feel like I'm not only on a path of becoming successful, but then the evidence of it starts to present itself more and more. And I know right now it is such a difficult time for so many people. And I'm thinking, I'm doing it during a time when it's very difficult for people, and I'm trying to encourage them by sharing with them what it is that I did. And the majority of what it is that I did was change the way that I was thinking. It literally came down to that. Like, just the way that I was thinking alone was everything about how it is that my life changed. And I know today that's still the thing. Like, you can't have it in your life without thinking about it first. You have to think about it first. And if you give a meaning behind it that says, this is distant, this is hard, this is difficult, this is nowhere near me, I can't acquire this, then everything in your reflection will prove that. Right? But if you know, it's just like, no, man, there's people out there who do it. They do it in this fashion. I'm going to try doing that, knowing that I'm going to stumble through it and fail, first attempt at learning, right? I'm going to be first attempt at learning at this. Right? And by doing that, eventually I'm going to position myself in which that it's going to be successful to me. Either I get bored of it or I continue to think about it. And if I'm thinking about it, it's going to turn into a reality. Even if I'm thinking about it failing. If I'm thinking about it not working. If I'm thinking that they're keeping me from doing it. I'm thinking about the thing that I want, but I'm thinking about the things that are holding me back. That's the reality that will be reflected. People say, no, I thought about it a lot. And I'm like, I know you're thinking about it. You're thinking about how you're not getting it. That's how you're thinking about it a lot. And that's why it's a lot not there. You got to think, man, I got to be on a path of acquiring this stuff. I got to be in the flow. How do you get in the flow? Well, you got to be useful and helpful. You got to take action. You got to be, you got to be motivated. You got to make a video. You got to build the product. You got to swing the hammer. Right? You got to make the phone call. You got to do the stuff. It's like, I don't know, man. Everybody's got to do something different. All right, another super chat from Justin H. Thank you so much. Rename concealed permits to license to kill. I very much disagree with that, Justin. I have to think about the story that my brother told about stepping out of the bar, and he was concealed carrying at the time, legally, right? Permit. He has, concealed weapons permit, and he stumbled out of the bar, and like anybody who's been drinking, you get mouthy or whatever, and he said something to these guys, and they were like working on their old crappy car, and he's walking home, and he lives in Portland, and so there's some areas are better than others, I could say. And so anyway, he's walking home, and there's these guys who are working on their car, and he says something to him. I don't know. He mouths out like, the thing was trying to start and it sounded like hell, and he said something about the car and tried to make fun of it, right? And instead of the guys laughing and joking around with him, they got mad and took offense, and they started chasing him, and they're chasing him with this tire iron. Well, my brother's not exactly like a little guy, right? I mean, he's not very tall, but he's a bigger dude. So he's strong enough. He was in the army, stuff like that. But he's kind of a big dude, and he can't run very fast, right? Or I mean, he's not going to be able to run as fast as these younger guys. So he's running away from these dudes as they're yelling at him, chasing him down the street, and he's scared to death. He's like, shit, what if they catch me? Like, he's thinking now, if he cannot run away from these guys, he's going to pull this gun and he's going to shoot them if they get close to him. Like, he can't, like, they're chasing him with the tire iron now, right? And the whole time he's telling me this story, and, and he was just like, man, now, luckily the guys were just trying to scare him, and they backed off, and they stopped chasing him after the, like, block or whatever. But he did think about that. It was just like, man, I mean, there's something as simple as trying to be like, funny or telling a joke or whatever, all of a sudden set off this incident that came very close to him having to pull this gun, and who knows what have happened after that, And I think about that story quite a bit as people talk about their concealed, their right to carry or even open carrying, I mean, I think about the same situation that happens. Like, if somebody saw him carrying that gun, would they have chased him? Well, maybe different. But then I also think about the kid who was standing there at the gas station counter, and those gangsters walked right up and took that gun right off that kid as if it was laying on the ground. Like, they could, like, I don't know how many people saw that video. It was pretty horrific, right? This kid standing at a gas station counter buying something. These dudes, they totally target him too, right? They walk right in, they see the gun, they walk right up and pull that gun right off of his hip, put it, and shove the kid away and walk right out the door. Yep, you have a nice day, sir, they say to him, and the kid's like freaking out. Give me my piece back, give me my piece back. He steps out the door, and then you can hear it, man. Pop, 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 pop. Shot him with his own gun. Right. How easy, how quickly was that, man? Those guys, they didn't even think twice about taking that gun. They knew what they were going to do. Like I said, they picked that gun up as if it was just laying there on the ground. Some people just don't understand that when you put yourself in a dangerous position, you can expect to face danger. Like, I think about where it is that I live. I live in a very quiet community. It is safe. It's kind of turning into this ritzy area. It's turning into an affluent area. Before, it was very working class, loggers and fishermen, but never gangsters, never violence. There's very little graffiti. Graffiti gets covered up really quickly. It's not that type of town. I don't feel worried. I don't feel like I have to do anything like that for my protection. I do have firearms, and I do know when to carry them. When I'm going out mushroom picking in the woods, when I'm after the chanterelles and those cauliflower mushrooms and all those wonderful gourmet mushrooms that grow up here in the Pacific Northwest, it's probably pretty smart to have something while you're up there in the woods. It's the only place that I really feel that I have to be packing. There's nowhere else that I feel that I have to do that. And so if I was to put myself in a dangerous position, then I know how to act accordingly. I mean, one of them is don't be in a dangerous position to begin with. That's kind of smart. It was just like, what was at that gas station that you truly needed? I mean, I can't imagine that getting a Pepsi or a pack of cigarettes was such a necessity in your life that you felt that you had to be packing heat to go do that. Nothing would have taken place. Absolutely. Those guys would have cared less that you were buying a pack of cigarettes. They wanted that gun, period. And it was because you had it that you lost your life. And that sucks to think. Because if it was me in that position, I wouldn't have been carrying it on my hip. It definitely would have been concealed. There is nobody would have known that I had that thing. Not a single person, maybe not even my own wife. That's how you carry. Right? And whether it was legal or not in that sort of circumstance, that's a dangerous place to be in to begin with. Right? I wouldn't want to be there. I would avoid that to begin. I wouldn't even be there, personally. Right? And there's other people like, I have a right to be wherever I want. You do. Go be there, man. I don't care if you want to be there. Like, I'm not saying you shouldn't be there. I'm just saying I'm not going there because that happens. And if that's going to happen there, I'm going to go home where that doesn't happen because that's where I'm choosing to be, right? And it's expensive and it costs a lot and it's a hard work to be here. This is the choice that I made. I don't want to open carry and I don't want to concealed carry. And when I do, I want it to be appropriate and at the time needed. But meanwhile, if everybody around me would just carry, if everybody around me would just concealed carry, I would feel so much better about it. That way I wouldn't have to worry about any of that stuff. It would just be so much better for me. Open carry is foolish to me. I agree with you, all-nighter. I wouldn't open carry anywhere, anytime, unless I was, again, mushroom picking up in the woods for my own protection against the wildlife. That would be it, right? That would be the only time, Otherwise, an open carry is like just asking for it. Just like that video it shows it so well. I mean, just the expression on the guy's face who took it from him was one of, like, I mean, it was so natural for him to do it that he might as well have been picking up a lighter off the counter. He just took it from him. Give me that. You have a nice day, man. And that was that. Let's see here. What a lot. Conceal carry in the hood, open carry in the woods. Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah. And then again, like, I just, I just think for my own personal, I don't want to carry. Like, I don't want to be in an environment in which that I feel that I have to, or even want to take on the energy that I may even face the consequences of being in a position in which that I should. And now many people may find that to be a very, like, I don't know how to say it, like, victim thought mentality or something. But if I had ever experienced in my life the need to have a firearm that was outside of that, of a like legitimate purpose, like hunting or target practicing or some sort of defense against the wildlife while I was out in the woods mushroom picking, outside of that, I've never found a circumstance in which that a firearm was going to benefit me. I cannot. Like, if I could find that, I would. And when I think about the people who have concealed weapons around me, I'm thinking that's a benefit to me right there. That's literally how I feel about it. And the more people that I know who actually carry and I hear that are carrying, I know a lot of people in my area do it. Like, it's surprising for as much of a liberal area that we live up in here, the firearm ownership is like 99%. It's like, I kid you not, so many people, like everybody here, even if you don't agree with it, owns a firearm. It's like the funniest area in the world. Yeah. People from the Pacific Northwest want gay married couples to be able to protect their marijuana plants with guns. That's what they want. Yeah. All right. Yeah, what was it? Yep, I saw that video. That's why I don't live there. Micro pocket pistol, easy to conceal. Don't even know you have it on you. One of the best ones that I saw was a little Derringer, and it was like a pretty heavy packing one. Oh, like a 40. It was like a super high powered caliber too. I don't know how big it was. But I want to say it was like a 44 or something stupid. No, it wasn't that big. Anyway, it was a little powerful Derringer, snub-nosed Derringer, built into a wallet. And I thought, damn, that's cool. Just like, you know, you hand out, like, some, give me your wallet. I'm like, here, take it. Bang! And just shoot them right out of the wallet. That to me was just like, oh, dude, that's brilliant. That's the place you want one, you know. Simon is correct. The threat of a firearm or the visibility of a firearm is actually more of a deterrent than the actual firearm. And I don't know. I mean, I don't know who, like, I don't know who it is that would have the mindset to use the firearm as an idle threat. Like, that's not going to happen with me. Like, I mean, the thing is that if I'm going to use the firearm, most likely you probably didn't even know I had it. Yeah, that's probably going to end up being the case. I don't, that's the thing. I don't take threats very easily. And so it's like I'm not easily threatened. I don't respond to threats in the way that a lot of people think that I probably would, because I'm just not scared of people, and I'm not scared of their threats. Yeah, I don't know why. You know, maybe that's a like some kind of weird mental block that I have going on in my head, but there's there's never been a time in my life that somebody had said something that said, he better watch it or else, and I'm like, oh really? Well, let's just show up and see what the else is, right? I'm curious, what else? And for the most part, I don't face those kind of situations. I don't even put myself in a situation that faces that. Like, I don't get that. Yeah. I don't conduct myself in that way. I don't behave that way. People don't react with me in that way. Right? There's no threats that happen. The New World Order doesn't threaten me. I'm not scared of them. Right? I'm not scared of law authority. I'm not scared of the government. I'm not scared of people out there. There's nothing that I'm scared of. You know, you know what I'm scared of? This is it. I'm scared of my own self failure, inabilities, inadequacies, all the personal stuff that kept me from what I feel succeeding in this world. And I feel that those things are more powerful in my life than I realize, and that one day they're going to show up and I'm going to be back to being a bum loser feeling again. That is what I am scared of. Right? Everything else, nah, man, that stuff is minor. That is little tiny stuff compared to what I'm scared of. All fear is prison of the mind. It is. Absolutely it is. In the United States, federal law does not prohibit individuals from making their own firearms of personal use. Obviously, a felon is not allowed to, or others that have been prohibited from owning. Yeah. Let's see. I learned a lot. Did you? From hanging out here? All fear is prison. Oh, we already read that. Okay. Um, all right. 78% of defensive gun uses happen when a person is in their own home. Oh, yeah. Oh, boy. Yeah, you don't, like, you better have a warrant if you're going to try and come break down my door or something, because that's the only way it's going to end up working out for you. Um, that's the thing. Like, I grew up in an area where we had, like, all my neighbors, all my friends, all of us, we all had like 22s and shotguns and all kinds of stuff. And so we shot a lot. Like, we got really good at it. And I have to say it. I mean, with my little 1022 Ruger, that open sights, pocket full of ammunition, that's a very dangerous little weapon. If I can see you, that's it, man. That's all I have to do. I just have to see you. And although I can't see real close, I can't read from a distance, I have very good eyesight. I have very sharp vision at a distance. And so with the ability to see you, and something as light as a 10/22 and thousands of rounds that I can carry literally in my front pockets, right? That's dangerous. That's a dangerous thing to have. Being in the home with, double aught buck is one of the best self-defenses that you could ever have. Between these two firearms, a shotgun, a short-barreled pump-action shotgun, and a Ruger 10/22, these are all the firearms you would ever possibly need. All right. There's all kinds of fanciness that you can get if you want to fight, if you want to do long distance, big game hunting, if you want to do some other like uniqueness. There's some particular weapons out there, but if you want one for survival and you want one for home defense, those two particular firearms are probably the best ones that you could ever possibly buy. Right? Buckshot is great for home defense. It doesn't really travel through walls very well. You fire a 357 inside of a house, it may go through your walls, the neighbor's walls, through the truck of the neighbor, right, on the other side. I mean, it can keep right on going, especially depending on the ammunition that you decide to shoot through it. Most shotguns, yeah, you got about one wall, and that's it. If you shoot a slug, you might get a couple, you get a little bit more through it. But understanding the type of firearms that you have and how to use them, man, that is huge for your confidence and just your safety of well-being. I don't stress about any of that stuff. Of course, I live in a really safe neighborhood, but even if I didn't, I don't think about firearms being a problem or being an issue. And again, if I ever had to use one in such a manner that it was like, I'm going to be doing this for a defensive purpose, most likely it will happen in a way that most people didn't even realize it occurred. It's probably not a good idea. It's just because you get good at it, and you just you feel very confident and very comfortable, and it's just everything moves very, very fluidly through the operation of it. You don't think about fumbling or safeties or making sure that everything's going to go down. You know it. It's great for close combat, but you need distance for warfare. I think it depends on how it is you plan on fighting that war. I mean, if you're fighting in a city, I think a shotgun is probably by far the better tool to have. And again, there is other ammunition that you can shoot through a shotgun that can get you some distance off of it. You can use the slug application. It's not nearly as accurate as, say, shooting a high-powered rifle, or even, shooting AR-15 or something of that nature. But in a war type of effort, unless you are on the offensive side of things, most likely as an individual, you're going to be on the defensive side of things. And in that sense, I still fall back to the shotgun again. If there was one gun that I was going to take with me, if there was one gun that I was going to take with me for any purpose whatsoever, it would probably be that Ruger 10/22, simply because of the sheer amount of ammunition that you can carry. Right? Because you can carry thousands and thousands and thousands of rounds and still be able to run. That's pretty cool about that particular firearm. And it's really accurate, and you can do a lot with it as far as getting different types of hunting for different types of game, even larger game. If you can do some good headshots or, some neck shots or something like that, you might be able to take down big game without too much problem. And so for me, and then even on the defense, even on the war type of effort, although it's not necessarily going to blast through vehicles to shoot somebody on the other side of a car, if you had an AR-10 or something like that shooting 308s through it, then you might have something that would be a little bit more in the way of hey, I can go and actually take ground or something like that. Then you're going to need something of much higher quality and size. So, but to me, I wouldn't be in that position. I'd be probably more in the defensive position. And again, you can keep somebody's head down, just popping 22s at them all day long. Just don't look, and you can drop 10/22 rounds into a little tiny spot, 100 yards away pretty easy. So it's all in the need, and understanding how you're going to use it. All right, guys, I'm going to go. My phone is starting to die here, and I can't see the screen or the words anymore. But I really appreciate everybody being here. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for hitting that like button. Continue to hit that like button and come back and watch the video some more. Continue to comment. and share the video with everybody. Go check out the Patreon channel. Check out the podcast. I got these things now starting to go more active, so appreciate you guys going over there and checking those things out. Okay, Uneducated Economist, you let me know.